Mike Burlack here to talk to you. This is a quick journal entry tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit about what fatherhood, being that it is Father's Day. My father's dead to me, but being that it is Father's Day, I decided to just talk a little bit briefly, journal entry, about what fatherhood means to me. And I'm going to start by sharing an anecdote from my own abusive childhood, just to give you a point of reference, I guess, where I get my opinion maybe on this and everything. I have to remember, next time I'm able to talk to an uncle of mine, I wanted to ask his opinion on what is branded in my brain of something my aunt, his wife, now deceased wife, said once. Just a quick, real quick background. When the authorities took me and my sisters away from our custody of our father, we lived in foster care for a year. We lived with one aunt, my father's sister, twin, believe it or not. We lived with her for 1 year, and then we lived with an aunt on my mother's side of the family for another year. Then I went to live with my mom, and my sisters went to live back in foster care. But that's the whole thing. I'd have to make a 20, 30-minute video just to explain that. But I just wanted to point that out for this short video because the thing branded in my memory, when we were living with my aunt, my father's sister, when we were living with her for that year, I remember a visitation was arranged with my Uncle John, another uncle in the family, at his house. My father came, me and my sisters were there waiting at Uncle John's house, and my father came, and right away he just, "You kids are coming home with me! This school had no right to get involved in our family business!" Obviously at this point my grandmother had already paid the fee, though he didn't have to do time for the federal crime of child abuse, which he was convicted of. And I distinctively branded in my memory, my aunt, his sister, said, when my Uncle John, he just put his foot down and said, "Okay, go home," to my father. I remember my aunt made a comment. I remember my sister started crying and everything. But I remember my aunt made a comment that is branded in my brain till this day. My mother told him to do this. So was my grandmother, my father's mother, instigating, the abuse my father felt he was entitled to not have to receive punishment for? I really hope I get a chance to talk to my uncle about that. What did my aunt mean by that? My mother told him to do this. Okay. A week, maybe 2 weeks later, we arranged another visit at my Uncle John's house, with my Uncle John supervising, and this time it was just my father and me having a little visit at my Uncle John's house on the couch in his sunken living room. And I was just a 12, 13-year-old kid, but I was just, in my head, I'm thinking, why are we acting like last week or 2 weeks ago never happened? I couldn't fathom that. So now to the point of this video journal entry, before I call it a day. I like to think that I would be a good father, but as a survivor of abuse, I don't know. But I wanted to say, what does fatherhood mean to me? If I were a father, I would look at it like, okay, I am now second to the life that I created with this woman. This is assuming that there's no fertility fraud involved. Keep in mind, modern females learn to use manipulation at a very young age to get what they want. A lot are already master manipulators when they're teenagers. Yeah, the corporate world wouldn't have it any other way. That whole concept was alien to my own father. He told us straight out constantly when we were kids. The whole point of you kids is to make me look good. Wow. Jeez. But that's how I would look at it. I was like, okay, I'm a very passionate person. I'm whether I have somebody in my life or I'm just on my own. I'm passionate about God. I'm passionate about my hobbies. But all of that, except for God, but the passion I have for my hobbies would definitely take a back seat if I found myself in the position of fatherhood. Um, uh, I would be like, well, I'm raising my biological children now. And if that were the case, 90% of whatever material stuff I have would just become toys for them. I know what I have, and there's only a few things that I have that I know has monetary value, and all that stuff is stashed away securely. What do you think? I'm stupid? But I am a very passionate person. I've been passionate about my hobbies long before I started being passionate about God, admittedly. But yeah, fatherhood is the only thing I can think of that would override my passion for my hobbies. Yep. I wouldn't even. I'm not even interested in making a female happy. If there's no such thing as a female who cannot find happiness through osmosis with me, through being with me, calling me her husband, then never mind. I'll do it on my own. Unless her passion is on the same wavelength as mine. For example, she'd definitely have to be instilled with a natural passion for motherhood. Duh. But the road my life is on now, odds are, I'm making all this money. I have no reason to spend it. I probably am going to be retiring a millionaire at this rate. But that's like the last goal I have to work towards in this existence, is to be one of those guys that got $1 million in the bank and don't spend money because they don't have to. you know, and I will never give one penny of my life savings to the medical profession. If some doctor comes along and says you have cancer, I'll just accept my fate, buy an RV and do something I never got to do in life. Travel. I haven't missed out. America. There's plenty of places to see in America. Matter of fact, after I see everything in America, if I'm not dead, then I'll consider going someplace else. But yeah, I just buy an RV and travel and see things I've heard about and read about and seen in movies only up to this point in my life. I even missed out on the 8th grade field trip to D.C., even though my grandmother did pay for it, because this is when the authorities took us away from our father. My grandmother paid for it. I was all ready to go. I remember it was supposed to be that spring, and we were taken from my father that December before Christmas. And to this day, I don't know if my grandmother ever got her money back for that, because I know she paid for it. She paid the fee so I can go on the 8th grade field trip to D.C. But to this day, I don't know if my grandmother ever got her money back for that. She was a penny pincher, so. And I don't say that derogatorily. I'm a penny pincher myself. But no matter what, I have to have passion in my life. With or without somebody. I can't be in a, what do they call, marriage of convenience? No. No way. No way, no how. All right, I'll end with a joke. Even though the video was pretty melodramatic, but I'll end on a high note with a joke I heard recently. So, warning, this one's a little off color. A little off color, some would say. What is the female equivalent to teabagging called? A flappuccino. A flappuccino. Mike Fairlack, thank you for your time. Flappuccino.